Hey everybody. Yeah, yesterday I got it to where you can make an individual item mesh where you can mark it as animated or not. And what that really made, from a practical perspective, made it to where like some meshes can be static and some can be animated. And then today, what I did was I wanted to be able to show on the animation page where and show basically the list of animated items and then where the it's laundry day, sorry about that, and show where it is, where an item is on the XY axis. And since we have a big eclipse coming up and everything, I thought it would be a good time to, I mean, it keeps reminding me that I want to kind of do eclipses is a kind of a good way to kind of show shadowing and stuff like that and 3D concepts. Um, Let me see. We are a minute in. Um, so this is a really good example, I think. So the only thing, so there's three meshes here. There's the sun, the earth, and the moon. And you can see the earth is like a blue, and then this moon is white, and the earth is yellow. And I will be honest, the light is actually white. I don't know in real life why our moon, if the sun is like red yellow, why our moon shows up as white. I would be very curious on what that's all about. But to make that happen, you basically have to have a white light, not a yellow light. So in our mesh, so here are our meshes: wait, moon, sun, earth, and that's where they're at. The sun is at 10, the earth is at 2 on the z-axis, and the moon is 0 but to the left, or left along the x-axis. So we're kind of seeing it, we're up to the left and we're kind of seeing it that way. So I'll move the camera up to basically be straight over the earth. So that would be at a z position of 2, and then like a y position of 10, and an x position of 0. So let's go ahead and do that. Uh, Z position of 2, Y position of 10, and X position of 0. So we're directly over the Earth, and as you can see, like kind of the bottom of the Earth is lit up by that, and then since the moon is to the left, it's the shadows aren't there. So let me just show you the lights. So there's like 6 lights, 7 lights that are all sitting at 7. So they're like right here, right above, right in front of the Earth. So let me go ahead and turn. Well, let's just see. So this isn't quite accurate because I haven't built in sort of radial or rotational motion. So this is just kind of a straight line over here, but it kind of goes into the shadow of the Earth, and then um, that's what it does. So that's why you get this sort of moon effect. Um, so and then this is really helpful, right? So like I can be like, oh, okay, what does the moon right now look like from the Earth? Okay, so I need to look at x of -2. I mean, yeah, current x of -2, current y of 0, and current z of 0. So let's go over here and just say look at those positions. See, current z of 0 and y of x of -2. Right, and then we need to move the camera down to the Earth, which I believe was at 0 and 0. Maybe was it 2? No, 0 and 0. So that's what the moon looks like, right? Right now from the Earth, if you're just sitting on the tip of the Earth and you were looking at the moon, that's what it would look like. Um, and then if I turn the animations on, or if I move this along, basically you see you get like a moon. Um, a moon shape, and I think these jags are because the Earth is, because I the number of segments the spheres are broken up is not, isn't high enough. So we could make it higher, but then there would be a performance drop off. Um, so like if you were actually trying to build a finished product, you'd want to sort of you'd want to increase the number of segments, I think, on the when you add it. So like right now, I think let's go to the service, 3G service, and go to the add function. And one thing, to keep in mind is, yeah, see, it's this 32. I believe if we made that number bigger, then these things will smooth out. And in general, like, it probably makes sense if you're going to do really complex things where there's going to be a lot of processing, that you use a tool like this more for just making videos and then like recording them on your machine and then do them that way. But if you wanted to have like a game or something in real time, you probably want to have less, you know, I don't know how much you win by having something that's really crisp, but and then how that works is complex. So we've talked about that. It's going to have to do with like the number, how much CPU you have, your graphics card, how many CPUs you have on the machine, the way it divides things up, what other programs are running on your machine. There's just a lot that goes into that. But so this time I'm real heavy on this video is real heavy on like what we're doing like in 3D in general, and then like maybe a little heavy on a little bit about 3JS and like the fine details of 3JS. And let me go now. We'll start into the Angular, which is really the biggest probably part of this. So basically, in order to show this, I needed I need access to our items that have sort of the start position and end position, right? So like if you go to our animation interfaces, we kind of have these supported interfaces, right? Which is like a 3JS mesh interface, and well, um, so we have our basically our mesh. Okay, so yeah, that's coming in from the mesh. That's why I'm a bit confused. So basically, I need to be able to get data that is specifically our data for our application, and that is our mesh interface. And then I'm going to go to that definition. So that's what has our colors and our positions and all that. Then there's also the 3JS stuff, and we need that so that we can know the actual position during any given time. So we know that at 1 second that this exists, or that this is what the values are, and that comes from the 3JS values. And so I needed access to both. So I had to create a new interface that has that. Let me go to. It has basically what I call an item, which is our mesh interface, and then our object, which is the 3JS object. So in our service, basically I import that and I call it animation pair, and then I added a new list calls our animation pairs. So it's an array of those things, and then and then basically this component needs to be able to listen to that. So this is where that is set up, and this is how every other communication with the signals, I have it set up. Signals are very new. I don't think best practices exist yet, so this is the direction I went in. It's probably not going to end up being the best practices, but I kind of am dealing with these in one context, and there's an infinite number of contexts out there, and with time, maybe 3-4 more versions of Angular, like a best practices on how to set up this signals will appear. But for now, this is how I'm doing it. At some point, the best practices will come out, and I'll probably try to rewire this to be with best practices. but that's going to take a lot of discipline. Um, then basically, whenever you add a new mesh, we set the animation pairs. There is some kind of bug. There's something that I'm doing that sometimes makes like 10 or 12 of these animation pairs show up. This is a very high risk of creating a memory leak. So I have to make sure that anytime you delete a mesh, that animation pair is updated list, or we'll end up with references to those mesh items and meshes. And these meshes are humongous, that won't be garbage cleaned. It won't be cleaned up. But we have this set animation pairs that says if animated, go ahead and create a new animation pair, push that, and then create a new array, and then publish that signal. Then down here, in the update mesh, basically I'm just doing this more than anything to, if a mesh is updated, to announce it. So I'm out of time. Basically this just publishes it anytime there's an update, and if that mesh item doesn't exist, if update mesh no longer exists for some reason, then go ahead and, or it's not animated, then go ahead and prune it, remove it from the list. And then I do make a comment for myself that this is just an enormous risk of a memory leak if we don't get these deleted properly. If we get a giant memory leak at some point, this is the first place to look. Comments like this, especially like in a DoD sort of environment, are not appreciated. So you probably won't be able to do that in your own personal things. I definitely suggest doing that. In some corporate environments, they appreciate this sort of thing, and then some they don't. I guess if you're building it for the corporation themselves, they usually actually appreciate that. If you're building it for customers, like if they're going to be using it and deploying the stuff, and the customers are going to see these comments, they usually do not want comments like that, because those things tend to scare the crap out of your customers. So the prune animation, let me go ahead and get rid of that console log. Basically just filters out anything if it's it just goes and gets anything where the item itself is marked as item and is marked as animated, and it exists. So if it doesn't exist or it's not marked as animated, then delete it. Then it doesn't get into the pairs list, and then we announce it, and that's how that works. So in the toolbox, all I did was swap it around so animation was first, because this is mostly what I ended up while I was developing needing to play around with. Added this table in here. This needs to get moved into its own component, so that over here it just says animation table, and this is actually where you're going to be able to change the end. Right now there's no way to change the end value. All there is a way to look at the end value, and that sort of brings up something I never really thought about, and is that in the mesh, in the mesh itself, or in here, you have a form, and now we're going to have another form in here, and in our interfaces we have this form. And I was always fixated on, like, oh man, how hard is it going to be to export or import with this form group and these subscriptions on here. Like how are you going to do that? And the reality is now that I realize that we're going to be updating this from multiple places, we're going to update this from the animations and from the meshes and in the lights, and the light interface has something very similar. This really shouldn't be here. And so I need to refactor so that the mesh manager handles its own forms. And it's probably going to go back to like a dictionary, kind of how I had set up before and refactored away from it. Now I need to refactor back to it. And that happens all the time, especially when like this 3D, 3JS rendering thing is a new domain that I'm trying to really understand. And, um, in a lot of business domains, they only want to be able to update things in one place. And that's like kind of a part of it. So this isn't really a problem, but I believe it seems like to me in this animation world, we do need to be able to do that. And so just real quickly, I just imported the slider and the common module. The common module is just so I could do a JSON, um, so that I could say while I was developing, I could use the JSON pipe, and then animation pairs are in here. This is going to be gone. That I won't need the animation pairs in this manager after this, and then this uh, effect is what listens for those animation pairs and gets some updates from the service and gets them updated. And like I said, all of this code is all going to be gone um, once this is in its own component. And actually, all of these changes will be gone too, and they'll just be like an import to the component. I mean, not an import, but some code that some markup that just says, like bring in the component. And that's about it. I'm about 6 minutes over, so sorry about that. But anyways, happy coding. Bye.